Good morning, everyone, and welcome. I am delighted to have you here today. We will be exploring the basic principles of GMP. On this first slide, I want to introduce myself, Dr. S.K. Singh, with a PhD background. Today's presentation will focus on the essential concepts behind good manufacturing practices, particularly related to materials. We'll cover the fundamental principles that ensure quality and safety in manufacturing processes. So, let's get started and dive into this important topic. On this slide, we're looking at the core principle that guides pharmaceutical manufacturing. The main objective here is to produce finished products that are safe and effective for patient use. To do this, we start with a combination of different materials. These include the active pharmaceutical ingredients, which are the key components that provide the therapeutic effect, and excipients, which are auxiliary materials that help in formulating and stabilizing the product. We also incorporate packaging materials, essential for protecting and preserving the medication until it reaches the patient. But the list doesn't end there. Materials can also include gases, solvents, reagents, and process aids. These are used during manufacturing to facilitate different steps of production. It's important to pay special attention to all these materials throughout the process, because each one plays a vital role in ensuring the quality and safety of the final product. Every material must meet strict standards, as they directly impact the efficacy and safety for the patient. So, understanding the full scope of materials involved helps us maintain high-quality manufacturing practices aligned with our overall goal, delivering reliable, safe medicines to those who need them. When it comes to general requirements for materials, there are a few key points we need to keep in mind. First, materials used for cleaning, lubrication, and pest control must never come into direct contact with the product itself. This is crucial to prevent contamination. Next, it's important to use the appropriate grade of materials, ideally food grade if possible, to ensure safety and compliance. All incoming materials and finished products should be quarantined after receipt or processing. This means they are set aside until we can verify they meet quality standards and are safe to use or distribute. Once approved, these materials should be stored under appropriate conditions, meaning the right temperature, humidity, and environment to maintain their quality. We also need to keep everything organized in an orderly fashion, which includes batch segregation to clearly distinguish different production lots. Effective materials management is essential, and that includes practicing stock rotation, specifically FEFO, first expiry, first out, to minimize waste and ensure freshness. Regarding water, only suitable water should be used, meaning it must meet safety and quality standards for the specific application. All these practices together help us maintain product safety, quality, and compliance throughout our operations. Let's start with the beginning of our materials management process. Purchasing is a critical operation because it directly impacts the quality and integrity of the materials we use. Ideally, we want to buy from approved suppliers, and whenever possible, it's best to source directly from the producer. This helps ensure the quality and traceability of our materials. When placing orders, it's essential to have clear specifications for the materials we need. This way, everyone is on the same page about quality, quantity, and other important details. Once the materials arrive, we conduct consignment checks to verify that what we've received matches our order. We also need to pay close attention to the integrity of the packaging. The seal should be intact, which indicates the material hasn't been tampered with during transit. All shipments should align with the purchase order, and accompanying documents like the delivery note and supplier's labels are crucial for proper tracking and verification. For containers, always ensure they are clean and properly labeled. The labels should be easily readable and contain all necessary information. This prevents any mix-ups and ensures traceability throughout our process. Remember, these steps are fundamental to maintaining quality and safety. Proper starting materials set the foundation for everything that follows, so attention to detail here is key. Now, let's talk about the starting materials, which is a crucial part of our process. First, it's important to report any damage to containers immediately. This helps us ensure the integrity and safety of the materials we're working with. Next, when we receive a delivery, we need to separate different batches within that shipment. This helps us maintain proper traceability and control over each batch. Sampling, testing, and release are key steps before materials can be used in production. We have to carefully take samples, perform the necessary tests, and only release materials that meet our quality standards. All starting materials should be properly labeled with essential information, including the name and an internal code. This makes identification clear and reduces the risk of mix-ups. It's also important to record the supplier's batch number, S, and the manufacturer's details upon receipt. This information supports traceability and accountability. Additionally, we need to note the status of the materials, whether they are in quarantine, on test, or ready for use. And don't forget to check the expiry date or retest date to ensure the materials are still within their valid use period. Finally, the role of a validated computer system is vital here. It helps us document, control, and verify all these aspects efficiently, ensuring our process remains compliant and reliable. All these points together form the foundation of managing starting materials effectively and maintaining the quality of our final product. Let's talk about how we handle damage to and problems with containers. When issues are identified, we make sure they are recorded and reported to our quality control team promptly. This step is crucial because it helps us track and address any recurring problems. After reporting, an investigation is carried out to understand the root cause of the damage or issue. This way, we can determine whether it's a materials-related problem or something else in the process. The goal here is to ensure that any damage or problems don't compromise the quality of our products and that we continuously improve our procedures. This process is a key part of maintaining high standards and ensuring customer satisfaction. Now, let's take a closer look at some examples of how starting materials are labeled. As you can see here, proper labeling is essential for ensuring traceability and safety throughout the manufacturing process. It's important that labels clearly identify the material, including details like the material name, batch number, and any relevant handling instructions. This helps prevent mix-ups and ensures that everyone involved knows exactly what they're working with. Remember, consistent and accurate labeling not only supports quality control, but also complies with regulatory requirements. So, always double-check that labels are complete and legible before proceeding with any processing steps. This attention to detail is a key part of good manufacturing practices and helps maintain the integrity of the entire supply chain. Now, let's move on to the procedure for sampling that we followed. As you can see, we made sure that all containers were properly labeled. This step is crucial because it helps us keep track of each sample and avoid any mix-ups later on. Proper labeling ensures data integrity and makes the analysis much smoother. When we're collecting samples, it's important to be systematic and organized, so labeling everything immediately after collection is a good practice. This way, we maintain clarity throughout the process. Remember, accurate labeling and careful handling of containers are foundational to reliable sampling and, ultimately, to the validity of our results. Now, let's move on to the key points for starting materials. First, it's crucial to only use materials that have been released by quality control and are within their shelf life. This helps ensure the quality and safety of the final product. When it comes to dispensing, it must be done by designated persons following a written procedure. This ensures consistency and accountability throughout the process. A vital part of dispensing is ensuring that the correct materials are accurately weighed or measured. Using properly calibrated equipment and double-checking helps prevent errors. Containers used for dispensing should be clean, properly labeled, and stored securely. This not only maintains the integrity of the materials, but also helps with traceability. To add an extra layer of quality control, independent checks should be carried out and recorded. These checks include verifying the material and its weight or volume, ensuring everything matches the intended specifications. Finally, the dispensed materials should be kept together and labeled clearly. This prevents mix-ups and ensures the right materials are used in the subsequent steps. All these points connect to our overall theme of maintaining rigorous control and traceability throughout the manufacturing process, which is essential for quality and compliance. Let's talk about materials for a moment. When we consider the success of any project, the materials we choose are absolutely crucial. They form the foundation of our work, influencing durability, efficiency, and overall quality. It's important to highlight that selecting the right materials isn't just about their immediate cost, but also about their long-term performance and sustainability. For example, using high-quality, durable materials can reduce maintenance costs and extend the lifespan of the project. Connecting this to our overall theme, which is about building sustainable and efficient solutions, choosing the right materials plays a central role in achieving those goals. So, always think carefully about the materials you select, considering both their technical properties and their impact on our broader objectives. Now, let's talk about the packaging materials, specifically the primary and printed packaging materials. The key point here is that the purchasing, handling, and control of these materials should be managed in the same rigorous way as we handle starting materials. This ensures consistency and quality throughout the process. When it comes to printed packaging materials, they need to be stored under secure conditions, with access limited to authorized personnel only. This helps prevent unauthorized use or tampering. Whenever possible, it's recommended to use roll labels instead of cut labels. Roll labels are easier to handle and can reduce errors during labeling processes. Loose materials should always be stored and transported in separate, closed containers to avoid mix-ups. This is crucial for maintaining traceability and preventing contamination or errors. Access to these materials should be restricted and issued only by designated personnel. And of course, we must have clear standard operating procedures, or SOPs, in place for issuing and returning these materials. All these measures are part of our overall quality control strategy to ensure packaging integrity, safety, and compliance throughout the manufacturing process. Let's talk about materials. This is a crucial aspect because the materials we choose directly impact the success of our project. First, we need to consider the properties of the materials, such as durability, cost, and environmental impact. These factors help us select options that are not only effective but also sustainable. It's also important to think about how materials interact with each other and with the environment. They can affect performance and longevity. For example, some materials might be more resistant to weathering, which is essential depending on the application. Additionally, sourcing materials responsibly is a key point. Using renewable or recycled materials can align with our overall goal of creating sustainable solutions. Ultimately, selecting the right materials ties everything together. They're the foundation of our design, affecting functionality, aesthetics, and even user experience. So, when we make these choices, we should always keep the broader objectives of our project in mind. Let's take a look at the key points related to printed and primary packaging materials, specifically in this second part of our discussion. First, for each delivery or batch, it's essential to assign a specific reference number or identification mark. This helps us trace and verify materials throughout the packaging process. When the materials arrive at the packaging department, the first step is to check the quantity, making sure we received everything expected. Next, we verify the identity of the materials to confirm they are the correct ones and ensure they conform to our packaging instructions. It's also important to identify any outdated or obsolete materials, which are no longer suitable for use. Such materials must be properly destroyed to prevent any accidental use. And of course, every destruction must be recorded accurately in a disposal record, maintaining transparency and traceability. All these steps, tracking, checking, and proper disposal, are vital for maintaining quality and compliance in our packaging processes. They ultimately support our goal of ensuring product integrity and safety. Let's talk about intermediate and bulk products. These are materials that need to be kept under specific conditions, such as controlled temperatures, to maintain their quality. It's important to handle them carefully upon receipt, treating them as if they are starting materials. This means inspecting and storing them properly right from the start. Remember, these materials are critical because they form the foundation for the final products. Ensuring they are kept in the right conditions and handled correctly helps us maintain overall product quality and safety throughout the manufacturing process. Now, let's talk about finished products. Once they are manufactured, they are held in quarantine until we give the final go-ahead for release. This quarantine period is essential to ensure that the products meet all quality standards before they are distributed. After this, they are stored as usable stock under appropriate storage conditions to maintain their integrity and efficacy. Before a product can be released, thorough evaluation and documentation are necessary. This step is critical because it confirms that all quality checks have been completed successfully and that the product complies with regulatory requirements. The product release procedure involves a careful review of batch records, which is a detailed documentation of the manufacturing process. This review confirms that each batch was produced according to the approved protocols and specifications. And of course, materials used in production play a vital role throughout this process. Ensuring the quality and proper handling of materials is fundamental to achieving a final product that is safe, effective, and ready for release. Connecting all these points, it's clear that a systematic approach, covering quarantine, storage, evaluation, and documentation, is key to maintaining high standards in our production process. Now, let's talk about rejected materials. These are materials and products that don't meet our quality standards or specifications. It's important that these rejected items are clearly marked so there's no confusion about their status. They should always be stored separately in restricted areas to prevent accidental use or mix-ups. When it comes to handling these rejected items, the action taken, whether returning them to the supplier, destroying them, or other measures, must be done promptly. And of course, all these actions need to be approved by authorized personnel, with proper records maintained for accountability. By following these steps, we ensure that rejected materials are managed effectively, supporting the overall quality and safety of our operations. Let's talk about rejected, reworked, and recovered materials. Reworking and recovery are practices we use only in exceptional cases. It's important to emphasize that the risks involved in these processes have been thoroughly evaluated. We ensure that the quality of the final product is not compromised. When we do rework or recover materials, we make sure that all specifications are still met. This involves following a clearly defined procedure, which helps us maintain consistency and control throughout the process. Additionally, we keep detailed records of these activities for traceability. Every reworked batch is assigned a new batch number, which helps us track its history accurately. Before releasing the reworked material, additional testing is usually considered by our quality control team to verify that everything still complies with our standards. In terms of the materials themselves, this process allows us to make efficient use of resources without sacrificing quality, as long as proper procedures are followed. Overall, this approach supports our commitment to quality and sustainability within the manufacturing process. Now, let's talk about recalled products and returned goods. When a product is recalled, it's important to identify it clearly and then store it separately from other inventory. This helps prevent any mix-ups or accidental distribution. The storage area for these products should be secure and access controlled, ensuring only authorized personnel can handle them. A decision is then made about what to do with these recalled items, whether they should be reworked, destroyed, or maybe returned to the manufacturer. For returned goods, we generally destroy them unless they meet certain quality standards that make resale or reuse possible. We follow a standard operating procedure, or SOP, to decide the fate of these products, such as relabeling or reselling them if appropriate. When making these decisions, we need to consider several factors: the nature of the product, any special storage requirements, its condition, its history, and how much time has passed since the issue. Finally, it's crucial that all actions taken regarding these materials are properly recorded. This documentation ensures traceability and accountability throughout the process, which is key to maintaining quality and safety standards in our operations. Let's talk about reagents and culture media, which are fundamental to ensuring reliable and accurate laboratory results. First, it's crucial to maintain proper records for receipt or preparation of all reagents and media. This helps us track their origin and ensures traceability. When working with reagents, always prepare them in accordance with our standard operating procedures, or SOPs. Proper preparation guarantees consistency and safety. Once prepared, reagents must be appropriately labeled with key information such as concentration, the standardization factor, shelf life, and the date when restandardization is due. Also, include storage conditions to prevent degradation. Don't forget, every reagent should be signed and dated by the person responsible for its preparation. This accountability is vital for quality control. Moving on to culture media, it's equally important to include positive and negative controls each time we prepare and use them. These controls help us verify that our media are functioning correctly and that our results are valid. Inoculum size is another critical factor. It needs to be appropriate for the test being performed, and this is something you should be familiar with from our separate training modules. Finally, always ensure that all materials are handled with care and stored properly. This attention to detail helps us maintain the integrity of our reagents and media, which ultimately supports the accuracy and reliability of our testing. Let's talk about reference standards, starting with the official reference standards. These are the standards we prefer to use whenever they are available, and it's important to remember that we use them strictly for the purposes outlined in the monograph. When it comes to storage conditions, always check the label to ensure proper handling. It's crucial to note that reference standards prepared by the producer are tested, released, and stored in exactly the same way as official standards. This consistency helps maintain their integrity. Typically, these standards are stored in a secure area, under controlled conditions, and always under the supervision of a responsible person. Now, for secondary or working standards, the key point is that they should be appropriately checked and tested at regular intervals. They need to be standardized against the official reference standards, both initially and periodically. This process ensures their reliability and accuracy, which is essential for maintaining quality in our work. Remember, the materials we use as reference standards play a vital role in ensuring the consistency and safety of our products and processes. Now, let's look at some key points about reference standards. These standards are labeled with important information to ensure their proper use and traceability. First, you'll see the name of the material, which clearly identifies what the standard is. Next, the batch, lot, or control number is critical because it allows us to trace back to a specific production run. The date of preparation is also included, helping us determine the age of the standard. Another vital piece of information is the shelf life, which indicates how long the standard remains valid when stored properly. Potency is also noted, ensuring that the standard maintains the expected strength or activity level. Storage conditions are specified to guide us on how to keep the standards in optimal conditions, preventing deterioration. It's essential that these materials are stored and used in an appropriate manner. Proper handling ensures their integrity and reliability in testing. Overall, these labeling details help us maintain quality control and ensure the accuracy of our results, connecting directly to our overall goal of compliance and consistent quality in our work. When it comes to waste materials, proper and safe storage is essential while we're awaiting disposal. This means we need to handle toxic substances and flammable materials with extra care. They should be stored in suitably designed, separate, and enclosed areas that comply with national legislation. It's crucial that these materials are not allowed to accumulate over time, as this can increase risks. Instead, they should be collected in appropriate containers that are suitable for their type, and then transported to designated collection points. The goal here is to ensure safe and sanitary disposal, which means we need to do this regularly and at frequent intervals. This approach not only keeps the environment clean, but also minimizes the potential hazards associated with waste buildup. So, always prioritize proper storage, timely collection, and safe disposal to maintain a safe and healthy workspace. Now, let's take a look at miscellaneous materials. These include items like rodenticides and insecticides, which are often used in facility maintenance and pest control. We also have fumigating agents, which are essential for sanitation in certain situations, and sanitizing materials that help ensure a hygienic environment. The key point here is that, despite their presence, these miscellaneous materials pose no contamination risk to our equipment, starting materials, packaging, in-process items, or finished products. It's important to understand that proper handling and storage of these materials are crucial to prevent any accidental contamination. Overall, this helps us maintain product integrity and comply with safety standards while effectively managing pest control and sanitation. For further support, please feel free to contact us. We're here to help with any questions or additional information you might need. Thank you so much for your time and attention today. We appreciate your engagement and look forward to supporting you moving forward.